Nachi free.
3 people have been killed in London and close to 40 others have been seriously injured after a lone Islamic terrorist attacker by the name of Khalid Masood drove through a crowd of people and then stabbed an unarmed police officer to death on March 22, 2017, making it one of the deadliest terrorist attacks in London in over 10 years. My sincerest sympathies to the victims of yet another needless tragedy perpetrated by someone who there is no need to sympathize with. But I do think it is critical for all of us to understand the attacker's motives. And I find it so disturbing how many people are the first thought coming through their mind is, this is not all Muslims, you can't blame religion for that. No, I beg to differ. We need to understand why people are falling for these deadly ideas. And please, I wish people would stop with the false equivalences of, well, look at what we're doing over in the Middle East. Yeah, our foreign policy leaves a lot to be desired, especially under Barack Obama when 2016, I believe it was like, what, over 20,000 bombs? I forgot the figure right now. It's not off the top of my head. That does not justify lone wolf attackers. And I'm speculating. I'm talking out of my ass on this one. But I'm almost willing to bet that this Khalid Masood, he didn't go out on a suicide mission simply because of foreign policy. That guy went out there because he was probably indoctrinated to believe that he was on a righteous crusade. Which, by the way, speaking of crusades, the president of Turkey now, he's working his way into becoming dictator of Turkey, Erdogan, however you pronounce that guy's name. Now he's talking about that there's going to be a battle between the crescent and the cross in this day and age. This fucker is actually calling for a modern day crusade. That's why the point of this video is to if we're going to try to understand anything, is where the bad ideas coming from. And they're coming from these 2 fucking books, the Bible and the Quran. Okay? And I've got a couple of little passages here highlighted. Look, this is the end of the Old Testament. Okay? Look at how the Old Testament ends. Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded unto him, to Horeb, for all Israel with the statutes and judgments. Behold, I will send you Elijah, the prophet, before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the new Lord. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Okay, that's the ending of the Old Testament. And the Quran, which is basically like a TV spin-off of the Old Testament, pretty much. That's how, look at how the Quran begins, all right? This is like, I think they're called surahs. I don't know if they're called chapters. This is you don't have to go that far in the Quran. Look, I'm already like within, what is this? Page 3, all right? And if you are in doubt as to what we have revealed from time to time to our servant, then produce a surah like thereunto, and call your witnesses or helpers, if there are any, besides God, if your doubts are true. But if you cannot, and of a surety you cannot, then fear the fire, whose fuel is men and stones, which is prepared for those who reject faith. If you want to see why people like Khalid Masood are going around killing people, and many others, you don't have to look any further than these 2 fucking books, dude. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to refer to them as fucking books, whatever. I'm just talking off the cuff. Okay? And there are some truisms within these books. Look, I mean, it's not all that bad, I guess. Look here, look, from the Quran. Look, let's try to, there's some redeeming passages here. Look, I guess Surah 102 or chapter 102. The mutual rivalry for piling up of worldly goods diverts you from the more serious things until you visit the graves. So in other words, if you get distracted with a bunch of bullshit, you're going to miss out on the really important things by the time you die. Okay, so that sounds like, you know, some useful advice. Here, look, there's some useful advice here in the Old Testament as well. Proverbs. I don't know if it's chapter 16, whatever. Proverbs 16, 18. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. In other words, arrogance will get you fucking killed, pretty much. And so, yes, there are some truisms. But let's not forget, these books were written by mostly scientifically illiterate nomads with tribal warfare on their minds. That's what it was about. And we don't seem to evolve past this now. And things like now, the mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, this was a while back ago that he had said that, oh, we're going to need to learn to live with terror. Go fuck yourself. No, we don't. We do not need to learn to live with terror, no matter how big the city is. Okay, and it's unfortunate. There's always bound to be some psychopath. There's always bound to be somebody with mental illness, somebody with issues. No doubt about that. But this idea that we need to learn to live with it, no, we should learn to avoid it at all costs. I mean, stories like this, I mean, the more I think about it, it's too old for me to become a cop and to join the military or anything like that. But my God, I want to like volunteer my time at the very least. For anyone who wants to see an end to this, or to this being as minimized as much as possible, we need to take a little more proactive measures other than doing like little heart-shaped things, which it's not that bad, okay? Like over in Belgium, like people, you know, for the 1-year anniversary of their terrorist attack, they all stood in unison holding their little hands like hearts. I guess that's, you know, that's a step, but you're gonna have to do a little more than that. You're gonna have to do a little more than just like tweeting out, oh my God, prayers. Prayers are useless, especially after the fact. And I don't know, this is quite a rant. My sincerest sympathies with the victims of this needless tragedy. I used to live in London. I lived there for about 1.5 years. I was there for the September 11 attacks. I was living in London when 9/11 happened. And I remember the terror in London because everyone was like, oh my God, we're next. There was that terror. And what was amazing to me is how many people with a smirk on their face when they knew I was American, as soon as they started hearing me talk, they were like, oh, you know, you guys kind of almost have it coming. I mean, somebody actually told me we kind of had it coming. You're like, you fucking dipshit. And not that I was expecting any sympathy. I mean, I didn't lose any relatives. I didn't lose any friends, fortunately, over 9/11. Those are not the sentiments to have. These false equivalences, these moral relativisms, this is why we continue to needlessly kill each other. With these tribal warfares. And then the worst part about it, I mean, it's not even like with Erdogan and, you know, the crescent versus the cross. It's also Muslims slaughtering each other. The Sunnis versus the Shias. And then if the Sunnis got their way and they managed to eliminate the Shias, then what? Is it going to be down to the Sunnis versus the Wahhabi Sunnis over in Saudi Arabia? And ultimately, this all stems from the people in power. People like Erdogan, who's calling for Turkish Muslims, or at least the Turkish people, I guess, in Europe, to have 5 children. This is not a war. In his mind, it is, because he is a power-hungry psychopath. He doesn't give a shit about Muslims. I wouldn't be surprised if that guy's an atheist. Okay? I'm an atheist. And on top of being an atheist, I'm an anti-theist. That is the root cause of so many of these needless problems on this planet. And by the way, stop having 5 fucking children. Have less. Okay? We're already populated enough. What we need is more responsible parenting. Not some fucking scoreboard among tribes. Ah, fuck. I hope this video makes sense. Hardly anybody watches my goddamn videos anyway, so fuck it. I don't give a shit. I'm fucking sick of having to read this shit. I'm sick of so many of you fucking pussies in the goddamn media trying to fucking figure out some sort of justification for this shit. Yes, our foreign policy sucks. But that is no excuse to come up with morally relativistic fucking pseudo-intellectual comparisons or fucking justifications for this. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe by clicking on my face. And if you want to support this channel, click on the Patreon logo or donate via paypal.me/homegrown.